Welcome to AsKDproS Business, where we talk to business owners like you know, in a way, trying to, share your journey as a business owner, what you've been through, challenges, and of course, the success stories as well, trying to create, a platform for other business owners to follow, trying to give them an idea of how to, communicate, how to deal with challenges they are facing in their own businesses as well. As a former business owner, and still a business owner, you've probably gone through some experiences that you want to share with the listeners and the viewers as well. So Tristan, welcome to AsKDproS Business.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be chatting with you today, Kez.
Yeah, actually, thank you for connecting anyway. So Tristan, like I always do on this show, like we always start from the beginning, so if you don't mind, tell, the listeners, the viewers, a bit about yourself, background story about yourself, how you started, and how it all started for you, as a business owner.
Easy. I can do that. So for those of you that can't tell, my accent is a tiny bit different to Kez's. So I'm coming all the way from over in Australia, in Melbourne, and we're currently recording this episode whilst we're in lockdown. So we've just gone back to lockdown, and if we want to leave our house, we have to wear masks outside of our house. So that's a bit of fun. But my background, my story, I went to university and studied mechanical engineering and industrial design and worked in that space for a little while. But I was never really fully committed or fully engaged in that space. And I kept on working just for the paycheck. And I would spend time with my mates on the weekends. I'd be living for the weekend. And one of my big passions is cycling. Not so much now, but very much so in my early 20s. And one day I was out riding with a bunch of friends, and we all decided that we wanted to get new cycling uniforms. So it was all the rage at the time to all be wearing the same outfit. So this was Lycra. So they said, "Hey Tristan, it's your job to go and organise the uniforms." So I'm like, "Yep, sure." I did a bit of research, and I couldn't find any suppliers or brands in Australia that I was happy with. So from there, I'm like, I'm up for a challenge. I'm going to go direct to the manufacturers over in China and see if I can get a better deal and get better customer service and a better product that way. Fast forward a tiny bit, I found a manufacturer, ordered some clothes for the group of friends, and they came over and they were awesome, except for when we put them on, the shorts were see-through, so everyone could see our bum.
So they were not the right sizes, though.
Correct. The Lycra was too thin. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So that was a bit embarrassing. But what I did learn out of that was that there was an opportunity for me to improve this product and then start selling it throughout Australia. So whilst I was running my day job, I set up a custom sportswear business on the side. So selling custom cycling wear, custom triathlon, custom running clothing to cycling clubs, to charity events, to other businesses. So I slowly built that up in my spare time. Not that I had much spare time, and within about 18 months, I still running my day job, but I was turning over $300,000 and had staff employed over in the Philippines, as well as manufacturing our 2 factories in China. So, and that was a time that I ended up going full time in that business and able to grow. I kept on growing that business to the point where I was running a national level cycling team. So at the highest level, I had staff in Australia. I was manufacturing across the world, selling across the world, hit 7 figures in revenue, and I was still in my mid 20s. So I was about 26, 27 when I got to that level, and everything was going right for me. And I thought, I don't need any help from anyone else. I'm having all this success by myself. I don't need to listen to anyone else. And during that period, at the same time, I got married. Fast forward a tiny bit, in a 6-month period, the Aussie dollar tanked, and by tanked we lost. The conversion rate dropped quite significantly, which ended up meaning all of our products cost a lot more. And at the same time, my wife came to me and said, our marriage is over. So all within 6 months' time, I had two massive life-changing experiences that I hadn't planned for and had no experience in dealing with.
Wow. Sorry to hear that, Tristan.
These things happen.
Yeah, they do. They do happen. So how did you not pick yourself up, and said, I'm not giving up, I'm still gonna, keep shooting, keep pulling myself, keep pulling my weight, What was the next thing for you?
Well, for a good 9 months, I didn't pick myself up, and I hardly wanted to leave the house. I hardly wanted to see friends. I got myself in about 200 grand of debt. I wasn't happy at all. So I'd gone from having all of those highs to the lowest of lows, going through a divorce and being in debt. And like I'd had all these plans and they'd all been pulled out from underneath me. Or so I thought. So, and slowly started to talk to people and I realized, hey, I'm only in my 20s. I'm in control of my destiny. I need to realize that I don't know everything. And I can turn my life and my business around. And rather than trying to do it all at once, I did it in baby steps. I went and got support, both personally and professionally, started hanging around with the correct people and started making changes to my business and my personal life. And by doing that, I was able to rebuild that business and systematize it to a point where it was making a profit again, and I was able to sell it.
You rebuilt the business again, and you sold the business. Now, why did you sell the business?
That's a really good question. And after I rebuilt the business was profitable again. But by that time, the entire marketplace had changed, and it was a lot lower barrier to entry. And I realized that if I wanted to take the business to the next level, I needed to go international much more than where I was. And I didn't necessarily want to go more international. And if I stayed only in Australia, I would have a whole heap more competitors because of the lower barrier to entry. So I sold it to someone who was wanting to take it international, take it to that next level.
Okay, cool, nice one. Yeah, but growing up as a child, what were you interested in? What motivated you, to be creative? And when they wake you up in the morning, what's the first thing you think about? In terms of motivation.
Sport.
Okay.
For me, it was sport. So whether it was Australian football, basketball, athletics, or cricket. So I was always a very, very active person, full of energy. And then on the flip side, some form of creativity and problem solving. So I've always been engaged in working out how to solve problems.
Cool. That's good. So you moved away from that business, and now, like we say, like when you want to start a company, you think about different names and, what you want to call the company, why the name Evolve to Grow.
So after selling that company, I was really fortunate in the fact that I was able to take a bit of time out and I didn't need to rush back into business or rush back into work. And it was whilst I was on holiday with Erin, my new partner. We were in Croatia and we were talking about what I enjoyed, what I wanted to do with my life and profession. And we're brainstorming whilst we're over there. And Erin was asking the same questions that you just asked about what I liked in my childhood and what made me happy and what I was good at. And the answers to that were that I love business, I love helping people, I love creativity, I love problem solving. And that's how I got into the business that is now known as Evolve to Grow, which is business coaching and consulting. But it was separate to that, when I was back in Australia and spending time with a friend and mentor, we were actually sitting down, having dinner and talking about business names and just throwing out ideas on the table and what the purpose of the business was. And at the end of the day, the purpose of the business is to help people evolve so that they can grow and achieve their personal and professional goals. Because if we don't evolve, we stay the same. So we need to be continuously learning and evolving to be able to move forward. So with that in mind, it's like, okay, evolve to grow makes sense because it actually serves the purpose of the business.
As a former business owner, now you have your own new business going on now, in terms of measuring, the metrics of measuring success in business, as a business owner, how do you create success? How do you measure that? Because we all want success in our businesses, don't we?
Yeah. And I'm sure you've asked this question a lot of times, but it's actually defining what success means to you and not what you think success looks like. And what I mean by that is we are given a stereotype of what success looks like, and we often end up living our life on other people's goal plans and living our life for other people and what we think they want our success to look like. So the very first step is actually defining what we want and what we want to achieve personally and what we want to achieve professionally. And it doesn't actually need to include money. Most of the time, money is actually just a tool, or should just be a tool to create success. So we can't go about creating success unless we know what success is. And this is where people get lost and businesses get lost. They don't actually know what success is. So define success. Then once you've defined success, you can create it.
So invariably, success is what makes you happy, right? What's going to make the business happy? Instead of living other people's life and being in other people's roles, you have to look inward, and say, do you know what?
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. This is my success and this is my goal, and this is how I want to go forward with it.
Yeah, 100%. So work out, look inwards for you, look inside you, and what actually makes you tick. And this ends up being like your vision or your purpose or your why in a sense, because achieving that is success. And then once you've actually got clarity on it, creating it is simple. People spend so much time trying to create it, but they don't actually know what it is that they're creating.
And your why has to be greater as well.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting. This is really interesting to start with. And I've been talking about this a bit recently. I used to go to networking meetings and people would talk about your vision, your mission, your big, hairy, audacious goal, your BHAG. And I would walk out of those meetings because I totally did not understand what that was. And upon reflection, I wasn't ready, but B, the people were using corporate language and that corporate language didn't resonate with me. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of listeners that are on the same page, that they don't actually understand visions and missions and why they're there. And that's okay. You've got to actually put it in your own language to create your why, rather than worry about the way it's actually been put on paper in the corporate jargon.
Cool. Nice one, Tristan. And, in building a business as well, sometimes we want to do it alone, and sometimes we want to, put families as well or friends, Now I'm going to partnership, in terms of partnership, in business, what's your take on that? Because sometimes two friends, very good friends might not be good business partners. So what's your take on that?
Biggest thing, no business with family or friends. Unless unless you are 100% content with losing that friend or losing that family member, do not do business with family or friends.
Why do you say so though?
Because invariably you will have a different why or a different vision or a different purpose. And if you get into business together just because you know each other, without actually being 100% on the same page with the direction of where you're going, there will come a time in the future that there will be a breakup of some form or another. It's not if, it's when. So unless you're 100% prepared to lose your friendship or lose a family member or a relationship with a family member, don't do business with family and friends. This is my personal opinion. Other people have made business with family and friends work. For me, friendship and family is more important than business. I'd rather not make as much money than run the risk of do business with family and friends.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. So now, how have you managed to make Evolve to Grow, stand out as a brand?
By not being afraid to be polarizing. That is the simplest answer. And why? What do I mean about that? By that, it is by not being afraid to share my opinion, to know who my target client is, to know who I help and who I can't help. And by communicating that message, I'm able to attract the people that I want to attract, and I'm also able to detract or push away the people that I don't want. And that creates noise in the marketplace where it polarizes people and it pulls people to me and it pushes people away from me. So actually having a stance, knowing who and communicating it and knowing who you serve and who you help and being clear on that. That's how I've been able to stand out in the marketplace.
Okay, good. Nice one. Absolutely. So how do you stay creative? Like creativity, for some people could be hard. Some people could be easy, but for you, how do you stay creative?
It's about staying fresh and actually understanding and knowing that we actually need to take time out and to relax, and that as human beings, we can't operate like a computer and operate 24/7. We actually need time out to reflect, time out to spend with family and friends, time out for ourselves. And by building that into my week, by building that into my month and into my day, I'm able to keep balanced. And then when I come to my computer, to my desk, I'm fresh and focused and present.
So in terms of staying fresh and staying focused, and doing what you need to do, in terms of now going to multiple roles in your organization, how many roles do you play? Because there's so much you can do. So do you have other people in your organization that you delegate roles to?
Yeah, 100%. I'm very big. My mindset is if it's not making me at least $300 an hour, I delegate to someone within my team. So I focus on the high impact things, and if I'm not doing the high impact work, it's not progressing me and it's not progressing my business. So as soon as I can bring a staff member in to give more work to, I will, even if I don't believe I'm quite ready for it, because I know that will free up my time not to be spending on admin, and it means I'm spending it on being creative and growth focused activities.
Cool. So what has been the most challenging thing, running Evolve to Grow?
Not be emotionally attached to the outcome of something. So I have, and my team have a massive impact on businesses and people's lives. Sometimes the clients have negative things happening in their business, and if I let that impact me emotionally, that's going to that's going to impact my business, my team, and my next client. So I've had to do a lot of work to emotionally separate my emotional feelings and the impact of what happens in the business with me, and understand that I am separate to the business. And if I can remove my emotions from things, I can actually have a greater impact on my clients and on my business.
In saying that, so what do you think are the mistakes that, people in your industry, probably make in the coaching industry? Because it's a very big industry anyway, but,
Yeah.
people definitely do things differently. Maybe you must come across some ways people do things, and you said, that's if I was you, I wouldn't do it that way anyway.
Can I be controversial here?
Yeah,
I want to be controversial.
Yeah.
There are a lot of wannabepreneurs that pretend they know everything and they know nothing, and they go and coach other people, and they coach other people into failure.
Damn, man, that's sad, man. Now, in saying that, how do you now fish those kind of guys out?
Yeah.
How do you circle them out?
They're all false promises. If a coach promises you they'll get you results, you cannot promise that you'll get a client results, because at the end of the day, it is the actions that the client takes that gets results. So if you're going to, as a coach or a mentor or a guide, if you're going to say you'll turn your business around in a month's time, these guys have done a short course in sales and have learned how to pitch a product, but have got no substance behind them.
There's a lot of a misconception these days, about, trying to grow your business, because now, down to what COVID has exposed us, a lot of people want to do their own thing. A lot of people want to go into their own businesses. So, a lot of guys fall for these things, but like you said, it's hard to point out, but if you can, it's probably a good, probably a good way, but I don't know really.
Unfortunately, I would say at least 80% of the coaching market, I wouldn't say frauds, but are not qualified to be coaching. 80% of coaches out there are not earning a full salary. They'd be lucky to be earning Australian dollars 50 or 60,000, and that's below average income. And they're trying to help business owners that are pulling in $250,000 in profit, kind of thing, or more. So I could get on my high horse about this and talk for hours, but we don't need to go into detail.
Yeah, that's right. As the owner of Evolve to Grow, helping businesses grow and all that, what do you do differently? If I want to grow my business, what are you going to do for me differently that you think will be better than all the coaches out there?
I may not be better than all of the coaches out there, and I'm not going to promise that I'm better than all of the coaches out there, because if I did, I'd be lying to you. The biggest thing is actually being able to connect with the business owner and understand where the business owner is and how they operate. So, and from there, knowing that you can't take a cookie cutter approach. So each person learns and implements differently. So being a coach, you need to understand how your client learns and how they implement, and you need to adapt your style to that. So that is probably one of I'd like to think is one of my biggest strengths, that I can adapt my style to different personality types and different learning types. But from there, I spend a lot of time at the start understanding the baseline of where someone is at and what makes them and their business tick. So it's about doing the research up front and understanding what the current scenario is like, because we can't go and make changes or improvements until we know where we are right now. And most of the time we don't actually know what the current situation is like.
What advice would you give to someone that wants to go your career path, your business path?
The biggest thing is begin with the end in mind. And what I mean by that is work out specifically what you want to achieve. Not some airy-fairy goal that I want to make $1 million. Work out specifically what you want to achieve, whether it's in 3 years or 5 years' time, or 20 years' time. What is it, black and white, in numbers and specific results that you want to get to? And then have that as your pure focus and reverse engineer it.
You've been in business for a while now, worked with a lot of guys, but in doing that, have you ever had any like negative reviews, or someone told you, you've done something that didn't really go well for them? Have you ever had that in business?
I've had one client that we had to mutually part ways, and it was that my service wasn't suited for them, and they were probably too overwhelmed to begin with, and they had more personal issues that I wasn't qualified to deal with. From a business perspective, I could help them, but I wasn't qualified enough on the personal side. So we both had to mutually part ways because she needed help before I could help her. So in terms of actual negative reviews, yes, I've made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. But if you go and look on my Google reviews, I've got like 15, 20 5-star reviews. So, but like at the end of the day, everyone makes mistakes, and you have to learn from them.
Like that. Now in having a business and you want to grow a business, it's always good to, follow someone that's done it before, or probably have a mentor, that's done it before. In terms of mentorship in business, what's your take on mentorship in business?
You have to have people that are 1, 2, or 3 steps ahead of you. You need to have a network around you. There's a saying that you're the sum of the 5 closest people to you. So if you hang around 5 drug addicts, you're going to be a drug addict. If you hang around 5 millionaires and they're the 5 closest people to you, you're going to be a millionaire. So build into your network, whether it's coaches, mentors, friends, the closest people to you need to be people that you want to be similar to.
Cool, Tristan. Absolutely. So for people that want to go into your, into coaching, into your business, the kind of things you do, what would be your advice to them, on how to start? Because there are a lot of people out there that be kind of like confused on where to go or what to start, want to probably follow their passion, as to say, but for you doing what you do and someone is listening to you and, I like what he does, I want to do what kind of things he does as well, grow my business, what would be your advice to them?
2 things. Understand your passion and understand the value that you can add. So if you can understand what your passion is and the value that you can add to others, get those 2 aligned, you can then work out how to build a business or build a life around that. So know what your passion is and know where you can add value to others.
But like you said, you're right, 100, if you follow what you love, what you love doing, it's going to be easy for you to just, wake up in the morning and just flow. You understand? Yeah.
Exactly.
So growing a business is hard, and dealing with family as well is another hard thing as well. In terms of time management, how do you manage your time? Right now with the COVID, is a very tough environment. We all know that, how do you conduct your business these days, and how do you manage your time as well?
So, first thing is, know that there's always going to be a tomorrow, and we're always going to have things to do tomorrow. And what I mean by that is you'll never complete your checklist. So don't sit at your desk until you've completed, because you'll just find new work to do. And from there, it's actually about having boundaries and understanding that, okay, this is the office. This is where I need to work now. But at 5 o'clock or 5:30, it's family time, and know that I have to switch off at 5:30. So scheduling and blocking out time for your tasks, for your work, for your family, and having that structure and building habits from that structure.
Okay, cool. Absolutely. Now, in terms of getting advice as a business, what would you say, is the best advice you've gotten as an entrepreneur?
The best advice that I've got. Don't know if it's advice, but it's probably the best question. And that question that I need to ask myself always is, what can I do better right now?
In a way to improve your processes, yeah?
Yeah, or anything. So to challenge yourself, how can I better myself? So whether it's how can I better myself by, I want to be happier. What do I need to do to be happier? Or uh, how can I better myself in the way I lead my day-to-day life? So if you're continuously asking yourself, how can I better myself, or what can I do better now, you can be continually challenging yourself and continually growing. The more we grow, the more happy we are.
Absolutely, Tristan. So if we were to go back in time, what would you do differently?
Nothing. Yes, I've made mistakes. Yes, I've made a fool of myself previously. But everything that I've done has been a learning experience. The only thing I would do differently is to pay more attention and be more present. So I wouldn't change my actions because I've learned from them, but to be more present in the past so I can learn more from those actions.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of balancing business life and personal life, how do you balance that? Because sometimes we might just be caught into that rat race, to say, and you probably don't know when to draw the line, But as someone that has been in business for a while now, how do you draw that line, to have to say the best of both worlds, family life and business life as well?
I'm very clear with my clients that come 5:30, I'm switched off. I don't talk to my clients after 5:30. My clients know that Fridays is a non-client facing day at all, so they're not allowed to contact me on Fridays unless it's an absolute emergency. It's about setting boundaries and expectations. And if rather than keeping them in your head, by communicating them to others, to the team, to my family, to my clients, if I've communicated to them, they respect them, and then I respect them. So setting expectations, setting boundaries, and communicating them.
The pandemic is here, COVID is here, how do you conduct your business these days, in terms of managing staffs as well, remotely, what would you say, or what would you suggest is a better way to do that? Because a lot of people might be, companies might be facing issues now, trying to, not sort of say micromanage, but sort of like, try and, not control in a way as well, but try and manage staff, remotely, what would be your suggestion to that?
Communication is key. So just because we're sitting all over the world doesn't mean we can't communicate. So for me, my business, we've got Slack and we talk to each other on Slack, and then we have video calls frequently. It's about working out a way to still communicate and engage with each other. We need the human contact and the human touch. And if we don't have that, we're not satisfied. So I can't say much more than making sure we keep in contact with everyone within our business on a regular basis and actually make the effort rather than just sit behind your computer and tap away at the keyboard.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Gone through your website. You're great. I must say you're doing something really good. But
Thank you.
in terms of legacy, and what you want to be remembered for, what is that thing you say to yourself? When I leave this world today, I want people to talk about me, and this is what I want them to remember me for.
This is a question that I've really, really struggled with. And because I'm constantly asking, it ties into the vision for the business. And the vision for the business is to Evolve to Grow's vision is enable business owners to have time and freedom and show them that they can have time and freedom starting right now. So, and what I mean by that is you don't have to work 60 and 70-hour weeks to be successful in the future. You can be successful now, and so if people can come to me and say, hey, we're happier now thanks to the interaction that we've had with you, and you've helped us set ourselves up for the future. That is what I want. I want to be able to educate people to be successful now and in the future. And by success, it's having time and freedom.
Absolutely. We all want that freedom. You want to get your time back. You also want to do what you love as well. For instance, me, I still have a 9-to-5 job that I do. But me doing this now, interviewing people and talking to people in business, it's something I've grown to love. And love to do. Hopefully this gives me the freedom that I want. Doing what I love. Like everybody says, you have to do what you love, but I strongly believe in that as well. Doing what you love. And in saying that, what would be the one thing that you want people to take out of this, out of this interview, and one thing you want them to remember and say, I came on this show. This is one thing I think you should hold on to.
Live life now and be present today. Don't live for tomorrow. Be present for today.
Absolutely. Clear message, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tristan, it's been nice talking to you. Really love the conversation. You've answered a lot of questions. Hopefully the listeners and people that watch this video will be able to take a thing or two from, and really want to wish you all the best. The world is it's kind of like in a place right now that nobody wants to be, but we all pray for the best, and hope that things get better soon.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. It's been really enjoyable.
Thanks, man. And I appreciate the time as well, and I'm grateful as well. Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.